How you doing, folks? Well, it's time to have another look at this Mk2 Golf behind me here, because once again it's in need of a little bit of TLC. In this instance, what we need to do is we need to replace the rocker cover gasket, because the last time I drove it, we arrived at the park where we were going for a bit of a stroll, myself, my wife and the little man, with clouds of smoke coming out from underneath the bonnet. We can't have that, so let's put it right. One of the things I've always said about Mk2 Golfs is they're a really easy, simple car to work on. It's like the engineers actually had the idea. Maybe people want to be able to fix their car. You don't need to drop the front subframe to change the headlight bulb or anything like that. So as far as a starter classic is concerned, the Mk2 Golf is one car you really won't go too far wrong with. I mean, have a look at this for an engine bay. I mean, this is a 1.6 engine. You could actually step into the engine bay to work on it. It's really good that way. So, you know, I mean, actually getting access to the rocker cover. The only thing that's in the way is the air filter assembly, but that's not really that difficult to remove. We'll have it off in 10 minutes, and then we'll be able to get at the gasket on the top of the rocker cover, which is the offending article. So, without further ado, let's get stuck in. Okay, so as has been already suggested by me, the first thing we need to do is we need to remove this rocker cover, the air filter assembly. So that's actually held in place, because this has a Weber carb conversion. That's held in place by an Allen a cap head screw there. So we need to remove that. So that is a 6mm, as I guessed rightly the first time. Now, normally, if this was the Peerberg carb that was originally fitted to this, it wouldn't have this here. It would be a slightly different setup. Still not exactly difficult to remove. So, we take that out, pop it up there in the scuttle, out of the way. And I need to remove the breather hose from the rocker cover that goes up there as well. So we'll pop that off. And then normally you'd have to remove the nut at the front of this, but given the fact that that's actually broken away, the shock mount, you don't really need to remove it. So it might be something else I might actually try and fix as well, but who knows, I might take a notion. There's a vacuum pipe on the other side that needs to be removed as well. The vacuum pipe actually opens a flap further downstream to allow the air filter assembly to either take warm air from down by the manifold or cool air down by the inner wing. So to remove those two ducts as well that go down to the manifold and the inner wing respectively as well, and just the whole assembly pops off. There you go. You can see the foil tubes as well that come off. So that's then out of the way now. So you can see straight away we've got much better access. There's the Weber carburetor. Okay, so let's see what else is in our way. I remember the last time I did this actually, that I was in around this area. I'm just looking there, actually, that's not bloody water, that's coolant. Where's that coming from? Why have we got coolant down around this area? That's definitely something wrong. I know the manifold has... we have a problem here, folks. I'll bring you in and let you have a look. Look on the top of the manifold there. No coolant there. So we've obviously got a coolant leak somewhere. So where is that coming from is the next question. We need to find out. Now the manifold gets a feed of coolant to allow it to warm up with the car and stop manifold icing. But obviously it shouldn't be pissing out onto the top of it. It kind of goes without saying, really. So yeah. Houston, we have a problem. I need to put my thinking cap on here. I'll come back to you in a minute. Okay, so if you have a look there at this coolant pipe, it's coming up from the head into the radiator or the heater matrix, and that is leaking. Now there's a copper joiner in there. So what I'll do first of all is I'll try and crank down on those Jubilee clips and see if maybe it's just a case of one of them is a bit loose. and that's wishful thinking, but I'm wondering, is it actually spraying coolant across there all over? Like, the whole engine's sodden. I mean, it's filthy. I do think still that the rocker cover is actually leaking. Ah, that's loose. Okay, so that's, yeah, they're both loose. Okay, so that definitely could have been a problem. Right, okay, so I wonder, is the other one loose as well? I'll have to have a look at that now and see. You can see now what the benefits are of those annoying clips that VW use, the kind of the springy clips, because they don't lose their tension like that Jubilee clip just did there. So yeah, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that anyway, but I noticed there's a bit of oil around, and I do think that rocker cover seal is leaking, so I am going to do it as well. But for the moment, I'm going to actually get a 7mm socket onto them and just nip them up a little bit. I might have a couple of those spring clips actually, I might put them on. For the moment, let's just see if this cures the problem. I can change them at a later stage. They're loose as well. Okay. Right, so it definitely could have been our culprit. Just, yeah. Now I just need to mop up some of that coolant first of all now before I kind of go any further. And bring you guys back out. God, some amount of coolant. I'll have to check and see how much is actually in the system as well. That is crazy. Not the most absorbent cloth, never mind, but still. Now I'm just going through all of the Jubilee clips on here. Every single one of them is actually loose. It's extraordinary, actually. I mean, I did tighten them when I did the job, you know. I mean, but just obviously from being in service or whatever, you just need to nip them up every so often, or just nip them up after a while, just because the rubber gets soft or whatever. But anyway, yeah, the coolant feed pipe down there was loose. The vacuum pipe actually wasn't the tightest in the world either, which can't have been helping with any running issues. There again, it wasn't running badly, but still though, it's still better to have that right. Now, the next thing we need to do is, there's a bit of faffing around to be done here, because what I need to do is I need to take the accelerator linkage off. So it involves taking off, there's a nut there which you can undo, and then that allows that sleeve to slide back. Crack off in those 15mm, pull the whole thing back, and it hops out of the groove then. So I can do that, and then this bracketry here is holding on the, it's part of the whole section that holds on this swirl pot for the fuel. Not fully sure what it does. I think it stops the fuel from stratifying or something like that, but I didn't think that really happened. Anyway, right, so that's that. So we'll take them off, and then we'll basically can work away and get the other 10mm nuts off, and take the rocker cover off and get that all sorted out. At least get a new seal on there. Okay, so we can take that sleeve off there now, and then slide that back, and that reveals the cable underneath. But you don't need to undo the other end of the cable, you can leave that where it is. I'm just using adjustable spanners for convenience here rather than me trying to go and find the correct size spanners. You try and do these jobs out, having to take out every tool from your toolbox. And to be honest with you, they do the job absolutely fine. Okay, so you can see the way that is there now. That the nut is undone, and so is that sleeve. So what we can do is we can actually pull the cable back, and literally unhooks there, and that gives us enough clearance to get the rocker cover off. Now it doesn't need to be out of the way completely, just kind of back a bit, and that will give us that clearance, as I said. So next thing we'll do is we'll take off the nuts holding the swirl pot in place. The 2 10mm nuts there. Okay, so undoing these nuts and washers allows us to take this bracket off, which is what holds the air filter assembly on. Now, in the case of Weber conversion, there's these spacers actually lift that up because the whole air filter assembly sits that bit higher. So now what we need is a 10mm spanner in order to undo the spacers, and then that allows us to take the swirl pot off. You don't need to go breaking fuel lines or anything like that, unless when whoever put your carb in, it was yourself or whatever, made the pipes too short. But in this instance, there's plenty of length on it to allow us to get the swirl pot out of the way. Again, it doesn't need to be completely out of the way, just enough out of the way to give us a bit of access. That lifts up like that. You know what? Tell you the truth, I think I might take that fuel line over to the carb off. Just makes life that little bit easier. Okay. Just tuck that in out of the way. And then that's so that's now free and out of the way. Okay. Now, next there is just a series of 10mm nuts right the way around the rocker cover. Need to be undone. Mind you don't drop them. There's a bonding lead on one of the studs that just goes over to the carb, so it's obviously undone now as well. Backplate for the timing belt needs to come off as well there, so that's actually held on one side. So good opportunity to inspect your timing belt and other things like that. And the one on the far side there, there's another little bonding lead as well. That goes onto a plate, so that's now off. So that's all of the nuts off, and then we can just take these little spreader bars off. And last of all, take the rocker cover off. Put the stuff down. Just open the oil cap just to give me something to grab onto. Okay. Somebody in their infinite wisdom, when they did this job last, used a heaped metric shit ton of RTV, and it is all over the bloody place, and that needs to be cleaned off. So let's clean off the RTV. RTV is room temperature vulcanizing sealant, by the way. Seems that most of the sealant came away with the rocker cover, which is great. Makes life a bit easier. See, what you don't want to see is where it's going down into the top of the head where the camshaft is. It's not really a rocker cover, it's a cam cover. Just call it a rocker cover out of habit. there's no rockers on this engine. Now, what you have is a cork gasket that goes around most of the way, and then you have a little rubber plug that goes down at the end of one end of the camshaft, which is that lad there, and we get a new one of them in the kit. And then there's another little rubber strip that goes up over the camshaft at the other end, at the pulley end, and again we get that in the kit too, so we'll be using them. Let's get as much of this RTV out of here first of all. I'm just using a kind of a putty knife just to scrape the gack out of it. You can stand to use a little bit of sealant, but you don't need to use loads of it. It's kind of a good way to know really what sort of condition the inside of the engine's in. If you can look at the camshaft and and everything in here looks in good order and clean, it would be a good indication that the engine was reasonably well looked after of its life. If it's all caked up with gack and there's pitting and wear on the camshaft, you can be sure that the rest of the engine's not going to be in great order either. At least that's my theory on it. Okay, so in typical Irish fashion, it's starting to rain now and it's gotten dark out. It's 5:30 in the evening, and what I did was I painted the rocker cover in a colour I thought was black because I had put the black top on from another spray can in my infinite wisdom. It's not black, it's kind of an interesting looking green actually, but it looked the part anyway. At least it's a hell of a lot better than the rusty colour it was. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'm going to close up here and pick this up again tomorrow. But through the miracle of editing, you'll never know. There you go. It's a kind of a weird colour. I don't even know what the hell that was on before. But I had a can of it in my garage, so I used it, and it should look alright. It's just on top of an oil-filled radiator here, just to kind of help the drying process. Okay, as is always standard operating procedure with these type of things, day 2 comes along and it's bloody raining. It's one thing you can count on in Ireland, is that it'll always be raining when you want to do something outside. Anyway, such is life. We'll get stuck in and try and get everything back together again. I left the battery on charge overnight as well. I do recommend that you do that periodically with a car actually that's been sitting up for the winter, or even that you're using over the winter, because when you're doing a lot of short journeys and you have lights and wipers on, the battery never really gets a full charge. So stick it on charge and job's a good one. So anyway, that's all fully charged up there now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the new rocker cover and I'm going to start buttoning that back down, and I have the new gasket for it and everything. Now what I'm going to use with the gasket is, instead of using RTV, I'm going to use this stuff. Permatex Aviation Forma gasket. Now I work in aviation and I've never seen this stuff used, but there you go. Anyway, look, it's actually really good stuff. It's kind of a varnish more than a rubber compound. So what you do is you just basically brush it on each surface, and it's ideal for using with cork gaskets, which is what I have for the rocker cover here. So I'm going to put a coating of this along the top surface of around the head where the actual seal is going to go. Now it's important to make sure that the surface is clean and dry before putting it on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a little bit of alcohol on a rag and just wipe that and make sure that we're 100% in that regard, because if it's not dry, you're at nothing and you're just wasting your time. That's what I use just to clean up the surface, actually, a bit of brake cleaner. Does the trick nicely anyway, so that's everything nice and clean there. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to brush in our Permatex. No matter what you do, this bottle is always stuck shut and you end up needing a channel locks to open it. So I'll just go and open it now. Standard issue pain in the knob trying to open that, but anyway, there we go. So brush it on. You don't need to slather it on, folks, just a nice little smear, just so you have a kind of, even that's probably too much what I'm putting on there now. There. Now the Permatex is good stuff, but you do need to wait a while before going and using the engine. Fortunately, time is on my side on this. What I'm doing is the job is actually for the national car test, which is our roadworthiness test we have to do every year or every 2 years, depending on the vehicle. This has been every year up until recently, and after this one it'll be every 2 years. The reason being is because it's over 30 years old. figure that one out. So when the car reaches a certain age, it doesn't need, they kind of think that you're not going to be using it as often as you might otherwise be, so they reduce the frequency of the MCT. But that's alright with me, to tell you the truth. I'm good at that. Anyway, this car isn't used all that often, so it kind of does fit that description. So here's our new gasket. It comes in 3 pieces. You get that little D-shaped piece which goes at one end of the camshaft. This goes up over where the pulley is, and then the cork bit goes all the way around the rest of it. So let's stick that on. The little D piece needs to go in first, because that actually kind of goes underneath part of the gasket. It'll just go there. Oh, you know that's in now. I'll brush a little bit of Permatex over the top of that as well, because the cork gasket actually has to stick to the top of that. So, yeah, probably used a bit too much, but anyway, it'll be alright. And then you'll see the cutout there on the gasket actually goes down the end of the camshaft pulley. So, and there's a solid piece that goes on the side, like where there isn't an indent for the bolt hole, goes towards you. So basically on the side the swirl pot is on. I'll stick that all down nicely, and that's in position now. And the last bit now to go on is this little rubber lad here, which goes up over the camshaft pulley bearing here, and so that's that. Okay, so now that's that all in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush another layer of Permatex over the top of it, and then we'll pop the rocker cover back on. Okay, so there's the Permatex layered over on both sides. So now let's go and get our freshly painted rocker cover. Make sure you don't forget to put this on as well before you go any further. So far as I can tell or remember, I think it goes with the cutout for the bolt holes down the end of the camshaft pulley. That seems to be right. Okay. If it looks right, it probably is right. Anyway, that's fine. So now we'll put a rocker cover on. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. I don't know what the hell colour that is, but I had it in my garage, so it'll do the job nicely. Perhaps we put it on the right way around. Oil filler obviously on the right hand side of the car, but I'm sure you knew that already and you were laughing at me for going to put it on wrong. Now, that does look the job, doesn't it? So let's get our bolts in. I'm actually going to put the oil cap back on just so as not to tempt fate, because you know how that plays out. Okay, so now the rocker cover's on, we can install our 2 spreader bars. One goes here. Okay, so that'll go like that. And then our swirl pot goes on top of that. 2 standoffs. No washers. They go there. Tighten them down now in a minute. Put this other one on the other side. Again, with a little wipe. And there's the little angled plate with the bonding lead goes on the back to your right here, and then on the other end we have our backing plate for the camshaft. Not the camshaft, the timing belt cover. This one here, I put a washer on this. There's nothing else that goes on it. So washer there. There's another bonding lead that goes from the carburetor over to this one, so that'll get a nut but no washer. And we'll get a nut and washer onto this one here. Okay, so have we got a full complement of nuts on? We certainly do. Okay, so now what we can do is we can start tightening everything up. 10mm socket. I'm still laughing about that picture I saw of your man, the Indian guy with the name 10mm socket. I wonder if his dad a mechanic. Now we're not going to stitch them down home, we're just going to kind of work out evenly on all four corners. As if you were tightening a cylinder head. I need a spanner for that one there. So I've got a 10mm spanner for that. Okay. I love my little 10 quarter drive socket set, it's just a business. Okay, so that goes, let's tighten them now. So that's the rocker cover on. So now the next thing we can do is we can start having a look at those pipes that were loose. I'm going to see if I can find any of the spring clips that VW use, but no, you know what, to tell you the truth, I'm not going to do that now, I'll do that another time. For the moment, let's just see if the Jubilee clips work. I can change them at a later stage because I'm getting wet, it's getting dark, I just want to finish this job. So we'll press on, and next thing we can do is we can get our accelerator cable in, so that goes in there. Our nut runs up there. Now get two spanners to tighten that, and then I can nip up the small little sleeve piece. Okay, that's accelerator cable is on. It comes up from the gearbox on this because it's an automatic car, and the kickdown mechanism incorporates part of the accelerator linkage. So it's a little bit different to what you might normally be used to. The next thing we can do is we can put this slat on. Now I'm going to actually make an attempt at trying to re-stick that, so let's see what we can do. Kind of one of the things I noticed while I was doing this job was there is a pipe over here which isn't looking too healthy, and I'm hoping that that's not the cause of our issues. It's the one that goes down from the fuel, or from there's a T-piece there that's going off into the heater matrix, and it's teed off into the manifold, and you don't want to wait for the thermostat to open for the manifold to start heating up, but because by then it's too late. But the pipe is not looking too healthy, so I'm wondering, is that maybe where the leak is coming from? I won't know until I actually start the engine and get it up to running temperature, but at the very least that oil leak should be sorted out. I know there was an oil leak because there was oil all over the side of the block, and it was looking pretty crusty all over. So, and that was one of those jobs that was kind of being long fingered. Now, there we go. So the last thing really we could do now at this stage is I'm going to take that battery charger off and throw it in the boot because my dad wants it, and then I'm going to refit the air filter. Okay, now turn you guys around a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing, and then this goes around here. I'll let the whole assembly together, and so I can go like that, and this little screw goes in there, connect up our duct into the inner wing. The amount of cars I see with that missing, you know, Volkswagen kind of knew what they were doing with this sort of stuff. Why not leave it? If it's supposed to be there, leave it there. You know, get a new piece of duct in it, the one you have is ripped. I had a look at the air filter off camera. You could definitely do it a change, and I will be doing that at some stage. Again, off camera. I don't think you guys need to see me changing a bloody air filter. I'll pick one up at some stage. Now let's not forget to connect up our vacuum pipe, which just goes in there, and check everything over, and I think we're pretty good. I'll just get our floodlight. Oh yeah, that has to be connected there now as well. Come with me and let's have a look. I think it's fair to say the problem is not fixed. Either that or whatever was down there is just getting burnt off. Could be just oil or something like that, but it doesn't smell coolanty now this time. I'm checking that pipe that I was suspicious of just to see if it is leaking, and I don't feel anything. It might be alright. I think it could be just guns burning off. I'm trying to just leave it run for a while. See, it looks like it's coming off the exhaust manifold. Now, there was never an issue with the exhaust manifold, but you can see all of the guns down there on the side of the head, down the bottom of it. I mean, that was what I was trying to remedy by changing the rocker cover gasket in the first instance. So it's going to take a while for that to go away. A good pressure washing of this engine would do no harm to it. It may still do that. I don't see any coolant appearing on top of the manifold anyway, so that's at least one good sign so far. But like, you're only going to get heat in the exhaust for the first little while of running. Sounds healthy. I mean, I'd say it's on a choke. It hasn't been run for a few days. Actually, it hasn't been run for a couple of weeks. No shortage of steam. It gets like that once the engine heats up, that goes away. It smells exactly like you would expect it to smell like. An old car. Now the other thing as well that concerns me a little bit that I wonder if it's still there now. Let's have a quick look and see. Yeah. You can't see it with the light on, so let's turn off the light. The indicator bulb is glowing dimly, so there's obviously a grounding issue there somewhere. I wonder if I press the brake pedal, will that get brighter? Because a lot of the time what will happen is the interesting that the revs change when I press the accelerator or press the brake even. That would suggest to me there's a vacuum leak there, so I'm going to have to check that. Granted, it sounds alright. Yeah, look, there's going to be another video on me trying to sort out a leak in the boot and or trunk for you Americans. The reason being is the boot is full of water, and that's why there's so much condensation on the inside of the glass here. It's the rear left light cluster, so I know it is, but it's just a case of getting a bit of a sealant and doing a job on that. There is a decent gasket on it, but for whatever reason it's just not sealing, so we'll have to sort that out. Okay, that situation is looking an awful lot better now. I'm not seeing any of that, the smoke has died down. Again, there's no, you can't see a damn thing here, there you go. There isn't any coolant appearing on top of the manifold anymore, so I think I've gotten to the bottom of that. It's just loose pipes. That little bit of water that was down there, that was there already, I just didn't wipe it up fully. We'll take it off the choke a little bit and see how it's idling. It's not fully off the choke, but that's fully off the choke now. Should be able to leave it idle like that. It's an EZ 1.6 engine. And I think it's a great little engine actually, I have to say now. Oh. Shit on it. Shit on the shitting thing. Is the pipe split or... Yeah, that's definitely a problem point. Let's just give that another little nip with the screwdriver and see if that comes good for us. I have a funny feeling it's going to result in me having to take off these Jubilee clips and inspect the pipe internally, but that is split. What we could do is even, just for the moment, just until I get it through the NCT, stick another couple of Jubilee clips on it just further down the pipe, like one there and one there, and then I can worry about it again afterwards. That's annoying. But look, at least we found our problem and we did fix one issue. So anyway, look, I have things to do this evening that don't involve tinkering with this car anymore, so I think we'll leave it there for the moment. Let's pick this up another time. There's a few other little bits and pieces left to do in order to get this car back driving the way I like it to drive, which is perfect, and it's no reason why I can't drive perfectly. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching and joining me in the garage, and I will chat to you again in a future video. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. Talk to you soon. That seems to be behaving itself now. Or at least it's a bit better. We might just get away with it. Could be a bit of wetness that was there from before.